Artificial intelligence today is ChatGPT, self-driving cars, and neural networks that generate images. But what if all of this had appeared not in the smartphone era, but in the age of telegraphs? The 1930s was a time of the Great Depression, jazz, and room-sized machines that could barely add numbers. The world had just survived one world war and was rapidly heading toward another. Television was a novelty, and computers as we understand them didn't even exist yet. But imagine that in 1935, someone invented the first primitive AI, not a supercomputer, but something like a smart calculating machine capable of learning. The only question is, in which country? Because absolutely everything depends on that. Let's start with the worst-case scenario. Germany, 1936. Somewhere in a classified laboratory, German engineers create the first artificial intelligence system. Hitler has been in power for 3 years. The military machine is gaining momentum. The blitzkrieg becomes not just fast, it becomes flawless. AI calculates optimal routes for tank columns, analyzes weak points in enemy defenses, coordinates aviation and infantry with clockwork precision. Poland falls in a week, not a month. France, in days, not weeks. But the most terrifying part is the logistics of genocide. The Holocaust was horrifyingly efficient even without technology. Now imagine a system capable of optimizing railway transport, prisoner accounting, distribution of camp resources. The bureaucracy of death, perfected. Enigma would never be broken because the Germans would use AI to create next-generation ciphers. The Allies would be fighting blind. The Battle of the Atlantic would become a massacre. German U-boats would know the location of every convoy. The war could have ended by 1943, with a German victory. Now the reverse scenario. Princeton, 1935. A team of mathematicians creates the first learning system. The US government classifies the development but shares it with Britain. First application, the economy. The Great Depression ends faster because AI optimizes Roosevelt's New Deal. Resource distribution, planning of public works, even crop forecasting, everything becomes more efficient. When the war begins, the Allies gain a colossal advantage. Enigma is broken in 1940, not 1941. The Battle of Britain is won with minimal losses. AI predicts the routes of German bombers. Operation Overlord is planned with such precision that the Normandy landing faces almost no resistance. The Manhattan Project accelerates by years. The atomic bomb is ready by 1943. The war could have ended earlier, but here's the question. Would they have dropped it on Germany or still waited for Japan's surrender? But there's a catch. The USSR doesn't get access to the technology. The Cold War begins not after victory, but during it. Now the most interesting variant. Imagine that AI was invented independently by both the Germans and the Allies at roughly the same time. A technological race in the midst of war. The war turns into a chess match at light speed. Each side analyzes the opponent's actions, predicts the next move, develops countermeasures. Battles become incredibly bloody because both sides are perfectly prepared for each other's actions. Encryption reaches absurd levels. Codes are broken within hours, new ones created within minutes. Intelligence becomes an endless cycle of hacks and counter-hacks. No one trusts radio communication. Everything is transmitted by couriers. The strangest part, the war could have reached a stalemate. The front line freezes because every attack is predicted and repelled. It's like two neural networks playing chess against each other, an endless draw. There's only one way out, even more terrifying technology. Nuclear weapons are developed by both sides simultaneously. The race becomes not about victory, but about who creates the bomb first. And here it no longer matters who wins the war. What matters is whether anyone survives at all. 3 scenarios, 3 completely different worlds. Version 1. The Nazis with AI 1. Europe is the Fourth Reich from the Atlantic to the Urals. AI manages the economy of the 1,000-year empire, optimizes production, controls the population. The surveillance system is so tight that even thinking against the regime is dangerous. America is isolated. Britain is occupied. This isn't the man in the high castle. This is something far more technocratic and cold. Version 2. The Allies with AI won quickly. The USA becomes the sole superpower by 1945. The USSR has fallen behind technologically. Europe recovers under American control. AI is used for economic recovery, but also for total domination. The Cold War either doesn't start at all or ends within a decade. Version 3. Technological stalemate. Both sides developed nuclear weapons by the mid-1940s. The war ends not with victory, but with mutual assured destruction. Not 2 blocks emerge, but several. The USA, USSR, possibly Germany if a coup occurred there. The world balances on the brink of nuclear war not from the 1950s, but from the 1940s. In any version, AI doesn't disappear after the war. It becomes the foundation of the post-war order for control, surveillance, economic planning. Regardless of who got AI, some things are inevitable. First, digital surveillance becomes the norm decades earlier. In a world that just survived total war, no one objects to total control. Orwell writes 1984 not as a warning, but as a documentary chronicle. Second, the economy changes radically. Automation arrives in an era when labor unions are still strong. Either the working class smashes the machines, or governments introduce something like universal basic income just to avoid revolution. Third, the space race begins 20 years earlier. If there's AI to calculate trajectories, rocket science accelerates exponentially. By 1955, someone is already in orbit. But the main thing, humanity receives technology it's not morally ready for. In the 1930s, there's no concept of human rights yet, no debates about privacy, no understanding of AI ethics. There's only one question: can we use this to win? AI in the 1930s is a story not about progress, but about weapons. And it doesn't matter whose hands hold this weapon. It's always used the same way, for war, control, domination. If the Nazis had gotten it first, the world would have plunged into a technocratic nightmare. If the Allies had, we'd be living under far harsher American domination. If both sides had it, we might not have survived the 1940s at all. Perhaps it's good that history went differently, that we had time to get used to computers, the internet, and only then to AI. Although, looking at the modern world, we're not all that ready either.